We are live and welcome to another case study with your girl Shakita Lewis. If you don't know, I am a apparent celebrity Reiki master because everybody that joined me in these case studies are celebrities, period. Ask about them. They're out here making moves, they are living their best lives, they're embodying their own strategies, which I think is freaking amazing because they are super intelligent, super beautiful, and they breathe life into their own clients. So for me as a Reiki master to be able to support such powerful women as they support other women in their cohorts, in their groups and masterminds is a blessing. So much of a blessing that they become real life family. Like this sister today, Famira Green, is literally my big sister. Okay. We met 2 years ago, but she is my sister through and through. Outside of being a dear sister and a friend, she is the Empress embodiment coach herself, soul strategist, and matter of fact, Famira, would you do us the honor in introducing yourself, please?
I would. I'm so excited to be here. I'm so excited for this conversation. I am the Voice and Visibility Alchemist. I'm essentially this special sauce for most of your sought after women entrepreneurs, especially those that are trailblazers and paradigm shifters within their industries. And so essentially, I help them to connect with their sacred tribe by helping them connect with their authentic voice and doing that which they love in order to transform the world. And yeah, I got a lot of other things that go behind that, but that's it in a nutshell. What I do and why I'm here.
Yes, I'm so glad to have you here today. I apologize. I was trying to tag some of our other sister dears in the meantime, but yes, Famira is a powerhouse. Okay. I met Famira 2 years ago in a group program with Janelle. So Janelle interviewed on Monday, and that's where me and Famira's sisterhood began. And she was one of the people. Whereas if I had an offer or I'm trying something, she would be super dedicated and supportive, and not only just supportive, like in encouragement, but she was making sure I was charging my worth as much as my energy would allow. Because Lord knows, I used to have Reiki. It was in 2019 when I first started. I came in the group and I offered the distance Reiki for $30.
And right, you heard that right, people. You heard that right.
It
$30.
was $30. That's it. And even though they like, okay, you get to play a little bit, but we're not gonna keep doing this. You're not gonna keep charging your worth. And it just it grew more. I apologize. I'm trying to tag people, but it's not. Okay. Um,
I shared it out too already. So
Thank you. So yeah, she was like, you could play a little bit, but after experiencing Reiki with me, and even in that fresh time, it was comforting because I wasn't as trusting, especially now. You can't tell me nothing about no Reiki now, no chakras, child. I see a color and I read your life. However, then I'll be like, I was nervous. I wasn't used to spirituality and going against the grain and standing out so boldly. So when I watched Famira, even though she has programs that are different from when we started, we was chatting about this before we got on live. She will help people express themselves through their brands and colors and person in their bring their personality to their brand. So Famira, do you want to share how you used to do that and how it grew to your business grew to what it has been today? And then we could talk about our time working together energetically in the process.
yeah. So essentially, when I met Chiquita, I was kind of coming on the other side of my sabbatical. So so a lot of people don't know my story. I've been this November. I've been in business 8 years. Gonna make 8 years. About 2.5, 3 years into my business, I burnt it all down, for lack of better terminology, right?
Yeah.
Of like pretty much realizing this isn't what I want. This is how how I want to do it. It's not really lighting my soul up, and so. And at that time, it was in brand design and helping people. And then it had kind of morphed a little bit into strategy, but it was still around visual branding. And so, like I said, when I met Chiquita, I was kind of coming to the other side of that of like, okay, what do I want to look like now? How do I want to build? But I was still in the place of that being what I was doing. So I hadn't branched into what I'm actually doing now. So I was still coming back into that, but it was still at the time looking like it was going to be more of the visual branding, but it was coming from a very much more soulful space. So it was the visual plus the strategy of like how to make sure that your brand is showing up how you want it to be, and that it's aligned with who you are as a person, also visually. So that's kind of where I was at before. In the time of us working together, it has of course evolved and became more focused and realizing that even in that, even though it was brand, it was still voice, right? Like, because it was just how your voice is put out visually, right? And so it has metamorphosized into this piece of like really being more focused on the voice and being more focused on how you show up, your visibility, and that aspect. And then in our time together, the spiritual pieces came into it as well.
Awesome. And that is, first of all, it is super brave to be in business. You said for 7 years, right?
Yeah, it'll be
And
November. Yep.
right. And then say, I'm gonna burn it all down. As an entrepreneur, we always like those points or those moments aren't uncommon. We do so much and we grow. And sometimes we outgrow our brands, and that which is a relationship, right? Like you ever have like friendships and things that don't compliment you anymore, and you have to be like, okay, pause. I can't sustain this anymore. It happens in business because that is a very personal relationship that we have because it is an extension of ourselves, right? And
Right.
so you realize your business, it doesn't always have to be a reflection of who you are at all. Because when you have multiple streams of income, you could have, a tow truck, a bouncy house business, it don't matter. But your ability to sustain these things and to evolve is commendable. Like it that took a lot of courage. So I hope that you sharing that can encourage somebody else who feel like, I've done the work, like what the hell is this? And so even harping on that particular feeling, when we started to do Reiki last year, as I began to know for sure, like, okay, this is what I'm doing. Because, like I said, 2019, I knew what I was doing, but I was like, what the hell is this? Because
2019 was practice.
it was like, testing the
No
water.
better. Yeah, getting your footing essentially on how it looked.
Yeah, because that was scary. You know
Mm.
what I'm saying? It was scary to have someone like you who I respected to trust me and be like, sign me up. And I was like, okay, if you say so. And then to, get confident enough to do this because my vision on work, which I think most of us have, is like working, working, working. Like I'm not physically working, I'm at home. Like it can't be this easy, right? So yeah, 2019 was a doozy, but then when I decided to go back, you began to be another client of mine. And at this point, I would say the work that we did for a while was about bridging that gap from being an expert for 7 years and you've already consciously burnt it down and rebuilt it, but understanding that you're still safe as you're rebuilding this. Like you didn't lose you didn't lose anything by burning it down. You know
Right.
what saying?
Mhm.
Can you talk about our time in Reiki and maybe some aha moments from those feelings to now you just out here beasting and killing it?
So the first thing with it was, of course, I think in 2019, like I, even for myself, like I was still also learning more things about energy healing and energy work just in general and stuff like that. So in 2019, honestly, me kind of working with you was like, okay, I know a little bit about this. I know that I kind of need it, but it was, for me, it was more from a place of like, I want to help my sister out, right?
Yeah.
So let me also help her out while she is kind of getting her footing and kind of figuring this out. And then it also allows me to kind of like test the waters myself on like, what does this look like, and what is it really all about, and stuff like that. But then moving into 2020, it was like, oh no, I need this energetic work, because at that point, then my understanding also of of energy healing and all that stuff had grown, and understanding it, and it was like, okay, I'm finally in this place where I'm still trying to kind of like get these pieces, because at the time when we first started working, I still didn't have like all the pieces like the way I have it now, in regards to like what I wanted to be in place for my business, what I wanted to look like, what the offerings are going to look like, things of that nature. And I was still kind of in this place of learning to trust, God and the divine when it comes to my business, and not leaning so heavy on my own strategy.
Yeah.
And I knew within myself that that there was this expansion coming. So I also understood that it was important for me to have some type of energy healing that was going to help ground me. I wasn't um actually set up for what was going to happen, right? Like, because also, it's important for people to understand, like with me and my journey, when I started working with you on the Reiki in 2020, I also then in turn got my DNA activated in March of 2020 for the first portion of it, and then the second portion of it in July. So of course, because everything I do, I gotta do the most, right? Like, so it wasn't like just
Yeah.
this one thing. It was like these elevated things. And so that's why the Reiki aspect, you know, opulence, is so important, because it helped ground all of that other energy work also that was taking place.
I am so honored and I'm super grateful to hear your perspective in that aspect. I think one of my goals with the energy work is as I'm evolving and trusting myself, even just hell this week alone, has been about helping people really integrate all the things that we take in. You know, like you said, like we both were developing an understanding about spirituality that's different and different from just studying the Bible. It was different from just kind of like going off in like in Erica Badu vibes or hoodoo and shit,
Mhm.
right? It was like, okay, there are different modalities. We were introduced to um, more in depth in astrology together, and I think it's so cool because I'm kind of getting a little emotional that I never really sat and realized how much we've been on a path in
Mhm.
sisterhood
Mhm.
together
Yep.
spiritually. Like that's fucking dope, like
Yep.
deep down in.
Numerology, like all those things that
Yeah.
kind of.
And that's why I wanted to get clarity on that because when people think about healing and spirituality, it's not just burning sage and banishing baby daddies. It's literally like it's learning. I mean, we can do it too, but it's about numerology. We learned about human design. We learned
Mhm.
more into astrology, and we even if you can briefly like summarize getting your DNA activated because DNA activation is a healing modality that I wasn't privy of. Like I had no clue what it was, but that was something that my sister is certified in and trained in, and I was able to get my DNA activated as a result of her getting her certification. And for me, when I got mine, similar to when she got hers activated, things shifted for me. But I have never been able to properly, like in depth, communicate what human design is. So, can you talk about that? Because when you talk about the DNA activation, we can go back into the Reiki and how those two together
Mhm.
complemented, propelling you into, I mean, a six-figure mystic.
Yeah, so the way I like to explain spiritual DNA activation essentially is, because my background is Christianity, that's
Mm-hmm.
still my foundation. I love Jesus, I love God. I'm not lost. None of the things
Thank you.
for the saints that's watching.
Because I think that's a question too. Like, in pausing real quick, like, I think when people see, like, oh, you're doing this and you experiencing different forms of spirituality, people don't think that you don't pray anymore. Like, I still use my Bible. I was a whole Israelite, like translating from Hebrew and Greek. So, and still can. Don't get it twisted. I'll pray for you in Hebrew, G. But don't mean you can't get this Reiki too. So
Right.
you being so church oriented, and then I'm
Right.
sorry. Go ahead.
No, so no, but it's an important part of the conversation, right? Like, so
Mhm.
that's my foundation, all still rocks. And so when I got introduced to DNA activation through another one of our sisters, Shakisha, and I actually got activated by yet another one of our sisters, Tam, who was on here in the comments. Um, I had to like look at it so that it made sense for me and like where my foundation lies, right? And so I always tell people when you look at nature in general, you see how strategic God is, right? Like just the
Mm.
way, the flowers and the bees and the trees and how everything is interconnected and how all the things work is very strategy, like it's very strategic, right? Because if any one thing is thrown off, it throws off everything until either something can adapt or shift. And so for me, when I understood that, then it helped me to also understand that you can't then tell me that God is this strategic when it comes to everything else in nature, but yet the time, place, and day of which I was born was happenstance. I'm not believing that. So then it lets me understand the importance and power of astrology, right? And of gene keys and of these different things. So as tools, right? So with DNA activation, I began to look at it like we always hear the scripture of how God knew you in the womb, right? Knew you before you were in the womb, which means you had, on a spiritual level, you already had characteristics. You already had all the things, right? And so
You
if
preaching today, sis. Don't get my vocab on, because we will have a whole sermon, child.
listen,
You
so
the
if
Lord
you
say, what? You knew me when?
before, right? I was in the womb.
Mm.
So in order for you to be known before, you already had to, have some level of substance. But we know life happens. You get, depending on what environment you were raised in as children, depending on what environment you grew up in, community wise, like all of these different things. All of those things affect you. And of course, as a Black woman, you start bringing in patriarchy and systematic racism, like all these other pieces. Who you end up being is not who you originally were. And so for me, DNA activation is on a spiritual level, taking you back to the essence of who you are originally meant to be
Okay.
before everything else came in. So when you get in that space of being activated in that, it turns on one, a different level of self-awareness, because different things begin to be revealed to you that now you can't unsee,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because of the messages and different things that come through. It allows you to stand in a different level of power,
Mm-hmm.
because now can't nobody tell me about me because I know me, right? Like there's a different level of self-awareness. But that can be a lot, right? Like when you are not used to that. So for me, the power of the Reiki work that you and I did was also to help with the integration portion of all this other stuff that was happening, right? Because it's literally becomes like you stirring something up, and then it's like it's all everywhere, right? And so it was like, okay, not only did it help me with grounding, but it also helped me with working with you. It also helped me with like the actual integration, the embodiment portions of it. It helped to actually stretch me as well, like things that I was trying to be like, I knew I seen it, but I won't go tell nobody I seen it. And then I would get on a call with you and you'd be like, I seen this thing. And I'd be like, oh God, okay, somebody else knows. So
Don't worry,
now,
your secret is safe with me.
listen, so now it's like a whole thing because anybody, like I'm an only child by birth, right? But I've had, sisters over the years, but the relationship that me and Chiquita has, like, I'm literally like, okay, now I see what people mean when they have like little sisters, because it's like when you're the big sister and then your little sister can tell you about yourself and you just be wanting to like pluck them out, like, shut up. But you can't because they told you the truth, right? Like, and you just be like, I'm supposed to be telling you stuff like that. And you coming back and telling me, like, that's kind of me and Chiquita's relationship. And so a lot of stuff she would come, she'd be like, I just be seeing you. Or, I don't know, that don't, no, I think it's going to be more like this. And I'd be like, that's what I was originally thinking, but I was trying to play small. And now she says this thing, so it becomes a whole thing. But so for me, I wouldn't have stepped fully into my own expansion without that added layer of support from you.
Oh man, that's huge. Cause I mean, like I already confessed in the beginning of this video, these women are powerhouses. They literally help women change their lives and their voice and the way they show up. It is always an honor to support you. And just like I give you little sister energy, you give me so much big sis energy. Like, oh my gosh, go like somebody else. And she'd be like, nope. Yeah, and I'm gonna wait till you calm down and I'll be back. I'll be like, dang, like,
I
you
see
know,
you in a minute.
yeah, unwavering. So, it's a lot of reciprocity
Mm-hmm.
because as much as even in conversation about you embodying these things, like I watched things be uncomfortable. You know what I'm saying? That's the thing about this healing journey too, is being naked
Mm-hmm.
and being uncomfortable and acknowledging certain insecurities or fears that you can't just show up on Facebook and be like, hey, y'all, I'm scared of this shit. And I probably ain't gonna do it, but I really want to do it and expect everyone to understand or not calculate why you shouldn't be, or even to a degree with real personal friendships, being able to be like, I don't want you to carry my burden. This is like, no, this don't have to be yours.
Mm-hmm.
You can take it or you can leave it, but you got to make a decision when you're embodying stuff like I want this to be a part of me, or I don't.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so I thank you for sharing how, your spiritual journey has transitioned over time. One of the things I would like to touch on is a program that I created
Mm-hmm.
that I shut down fast because
Listen, y'all pray for my sister.
I
Cause
need.
she be out here changing lives and then be like, oh, too much. Stop.
So created a I created an 8-week program, which is called Chakra Embodiment, like holistic chakra embodiment. So this is a program where it's every week we go through the chakra system. You have journaling prompts. We even talk to your chakras to see in what ways each one individually needs to be supported. In a traditional Reiki setting, it's like, okay, this chakra is blocked, work on that one. But we dove, I don't even know, I'm getting nervous talking about it again, right?
That's why
We
you know you
were
need.
diving deep into the chakras
Mm-hmm.
um, individually and then at the end collectively, so that you can fully understand how that chakra need to be supported.
Mm-hmm.
An example of that would be the throat chakra, right? Now, we would ask, it, you know, in what ways, like for example, just even real time with myself, my
Mm-hmm.
throat chakra, even if it might not be blocked in the current moment, but like in its root, what is causing me not to speak could be something that has to do with my confidence and me not acknowledging my own power, which would be my solar plexus and my crown chakra. And
Mm-hmm.
because we were asking each chakra every week, what's up? What's good? What's going on in there?
Listen.
It became intense, an intense program, and it was my first program. And Famira was, I was so grateful to have her in there. Can you talk to us about your experience in the holistic chakra embodiment program?
So just like anything else, Chiquita does, what you will learn from being in her space is whatever she tells you it is, multiply that by 10, right? Because she is a chronic downplayer of the work, right? Like she be like, oh,
Habitual
downplayer, right? Like
player.
she literally would be like, "Oh, we're just gonna do this little thing, and we're gonna tap into, your chakras, and we're just gonna have conversations around your chakras, so that so that you know to kind of, how to kind of operate with them, and blah blah blah." Cool, sounds dope. Let's do it. Get in it. Whole other story. First of all, the level of depth that you are confronted with as you're journeying through these different chakras. Like,
Mhm.
I study chakras, right? Like, so I have my own, I'm Reiki certified as well, advanced Reiki practitioner. So I'm not, even at this time of going through this, I'm not new to chakras, right? But the level in which she is able to like pick apart chakras and granulize what each chakra does, how it needs to be nourished, what's missing, the thought provoking questions that she asks. Like, these ain't just, oh, cute little journal prompts. No, like, it's got you going backwards in time, forwards in time, like all kind of things. How are you reacting to people and places and things? How are you reacting to your own self? Like, it is a lot. It's a lot. And she be like, we're just gonna do this little chakra thing. No, it is not. It is a lot. But it's so powerful, because for me, one of the things that I'm realizing over the last 2-3 years part of my journey, but really like understanding how important it is to me, like self awareness is so important to who I am and who I'm continuing to become. And I'm so intentional about my self awareness at this point in my life that this particular course, like, opened me up to so many things. It opened me up to like how I think about things, what I deem as important, what's not important. It shifted business relationships, it shifted friendships, it shifted my relationship with my parents.
Wow.
At the time when we were doing it, we were in a place, if you've been following me at any point on social media, over the summer, I had some things going on with my grandmother where I literally picked my business up and went to go live with her for like 3 weeks to help her. And I was in this course during that time. And I know for a fact, and I've never told Chiquita this, so don't start crying, but I know for a fact that I was able to shoulder that responsibility and shoulder that process that took place because I was in the midst of this work,
Wow.
right? Because it made me see myself and see how I look at things and how I approach things, which also then in turn shifted how I handle things with my grandmother, right? And how I interacted with her and different things like that. Like the level of emboldenedness that I had during that time and continue to have now with her, I
Yeah.
wouldn't have had, right? Like I wouldn't have spoke up on, because I swear I feel like while I was there, we did. I think we were on the last three chakras. So literally while we was there, we did throat chakra, and so like the way in which I was able to like speak up to my grandmother, because we know you a kid. I don't care how old you are. Like even though I'm in my 40s, my grandmother about to be 90. She's still like, you are 8.
Yeah.
Who you talking to, right? But at the level of like adulting that I needed to do in that time and space, and being able to find the courage to like say the things that I needed to say to her, for her to really begin to think about what was going on, I probably wouldn't have done if I hadn't been doing this work specifically in those areas. Around the different chakras. So it's not just business. Like this work that you do, especially with this particular program that we're talking about, it affects all aspects of your life, not just your business. And it got to so where I'm at now, being on the other side of it, too, is literally like, if I could tell my grandmama what she need to do, I ain't got no problem telling none of y'all nothing. Like, you know
What?
what I'm saying? Like, if I could tell the matriarch of my family, bam, this is what needs to be happening, and be very matter of fact with it, still in love and respect and all of that. But there's nothing I cannot say at this point in my
Got
journey. You know what I'm saying? And that shift happened during this program.
Okay, you're right. I had no clue. I didn't know to what degree, but I do remember you being with your grandmother. And I do remember the moments of like, wait a minute, because we would have our break time before we got into the work. Um,
Mhm.
and that is courageous, and I am super honored, like I said, and grateful that you were able to find so much value in being that. And one of the other things that kept coming up was, so even though it's a group program, it's very individual.
Mhm.
Like no one, like our other sister Callie was in the program too. And you guys are friends. So,
Mhm.
you share a lot of similarities. The group aspect gave different perspectives on how people perceive and do things for themselves personally. But
Mhm.
the actual questions and energy work that we did was very specific to your own needs. I am becoming more transparent about the chakras in how I can communicate it on a base level, but it's not one size fit all.
Right.
The way that your chakras, even in the moment, activate and are stimulated, is not the same as the next person. But you can have a a general analysis that serves both at the same time.
Yeah.
And I remember when we were in the program how things were personal, but the more you did the work, okay, so that is an important part too. So not only did you take in the information, but you did the work and was emotionally available and physically available for your grandmother. And the more that you did both, the more you were able to go higher into the chakras in self sustainability, should I
Yeah.
say, meaning you had your own program launching maybe 2 weeks after or
Mhm.
immediately after we finished.
Yeah.
And I want to know, how did the launch go?
The launch was amazing. So over this process of time, like, because I think it's important again for people to understand like the journey. So backing up just a little bit, prior to that, when everything kind of got situated, I had another program. Some people may remember it, Alchemy of Aligned Content. I had that program. I was so excited about it. It was like all the things. That was in 2020 that particular one came out. This work in regards to the program and stuff, that was later, right? So at the point of like understanding that I had to be courageous enough. I got told to close that program down, which was not what I was expecting, and was just like, wait a minute, what do you mean? I finally thought I found my thing, and I was called to create Express Your Brilliance, right? And so, which is my signature program, 6-month program that I have now that move people through it. It is also well, at the time, because it's not anymore, but at the time it was my highest offering that I had ever asked for in one single service, right?
Yeah.
So it's a 5-figure program, and so all the things with that. And even being able to step into that, like, of like, okay, what is this going to look like? How is this going to operate? Like, and being nervous about that and all of the things, is still because of the work that we've done, especially in that program. The other piece I want people to know is, like, once you do the work, like, it's one thing, okay, you're with Chiquita and like all the things happen, but the piece that I don't think people talk about enough is, like, that program was 8 weeks. When the program was over, I didn't just forget what I was taught either, right? Because the way in which Chiquita teaches you and introduces the information to you, you can't help but to continue it, right? So there's continuation of it, continuing to do it. And so I ended up having my biggest launch ever, because of course it was I had my biggest offer ever, biggest launch ever.
Yeah.
And I had a $70,000 launch, for
Wow.
the fair, and it was for the very first round of Express Your Brilliance, the first time I ever had put it out. Um, and the first time again that I had a 5-figure offer. And and the thing about it was, like, it was all the energetics were aligned between, because I'm very serious about, like, my mentorship and, like, my behind the scenes counsel, right? So that's why I always like to tell people, like, I like having these conversations, but it's also, you got to be willing to invest in multiple areas, right? So, like, I had Chiquita, I was doing that work with her. I was working with Janelle, doing work with her. I had a business coach who is Kim McCarter. Some may know. I'm doing work with her. And so between it all,
Mm-hmm.
right, because I'm willing to invest and take that plunge, and most of the investments are uncomfortable investments, right?
Yeah.
Um, it allowed it to birth abundance back to me, right? So, because we get back what we put out. And so I had that. So that was 2020. Yeah. So yeah. No, actually that was 2021 that
Yeah.
launch was.
The launch was in what was it, June?
Yeah, it was earlier this year. Girl, these pandemic years be running together. I'd be like, what year was it? Oh, like,
Okay, pre-pandemic, post-pandemic. That's gonna be
yeah, it's like the 2020s. They all go together.
yeah.
So what ended up happening, though, from the work that I was doing, 2020, I had my largest year ever at that point in business. I had made about $60,000,
Yeah.
over $60,000 for that year in 2020. Then I moved into 2021. First quarter for me, from January to March, I had matched what I had made all of 2020. So I
I
had
mean,
already made.
that was so explosive. Like, what? You did
Yeah. So I had made another 60 grand in the first quarter of 2021. And then moving into that launch, then I turned around and had a 70K launch, which ushered me into my first 6-figure year
yeah.
for this year so far. So yeah. And so I had 6 figures in June,
Right. The
which was
first months of the year.
right. So, and it was literally doubling what I had made in 2020.
Yes. And so how okay. Everybody's been coming up with these huge shifts and these amazing personal goals, and just watching yourself in reflecting in real time on how fucking amazing you are to make what you made in a year, in a quarter, is phenomenal. And then to turn around and have a launch And that just goes beyond, you know what I'm saying, what you made in a year. And then now you have a 6-figure year in the first half of the year. Mind you, we still got fourth quarter to go, so ain't no telling what bag of tricks sis got. Because she probably launched something next week and be like, I didn't had a $500,000 year. You hoes. When I say hoes, I mean the lovely, but nonetheless, yeah.
Right,
So one of the things that always come up is like I am growing, I am doing the work, I've made the investments, I have the team. Um, how do you know how to get the right team? Because as spiritual workers, we know that everyone isn't our client.
right.
And even on the back end, a potential client wants to know, are you right for me?
Mhm.
So from the previous conversation with Janelle is that she had the strategy and she had the spiritual. What is your take on that too? Because you had 3 people supporting you.
Mhm.
And the alchemy seems to be similar, which equal to this quantum leap of success.
Mhm. So for me, it what I knew was so I knew in 2019 who I wanted to work with in 2020, right? And I had started
Mhm.
kind of doing some of the working with them already in 2019, but just in smaller containers. So for me, I've always been someone that has understood, and it has also been the premise and foundation of the work that I do with my own clients, that you have to marry the spiritual with the strategic, right? Uh, where a lot of people, especially because I am a spiritual person, right? So,
Mhm.
for people that in their everyday life, they like to keep those two things separate, having it separate when it comes to their business may work for them, right? But from a child, the spiritual aspect of who I am has always been just a part in the forefront of my life, just in general, and everything that I do. So it was no different coming into entrepreneurship. I tried to make it different, which is why I ended up burning stuff down, right?
Yeah.
So moving into the space of like understanding, okay, it's not different. And so for me, I knew that it was important for me to have a business coach that also understood what it meant to work with people who their spirituality is at the forefront, right?
Mhm.
Because I do spiritual work, but I don't consider myself in the spiritual industry, right? Because
Mhm.
I'm still talking about branding and business, right? A lot of my clients are in spiritual industries, right? But I know that I still understand that the work that I do is very spiritual. So I needed a business coach that also understood that understands energy, that understands like sometimes depending on where I'm at in my energetic cycle, I'm not gonna want to do shit.
Yeah.
So no, I'm not gonna have no launch. No, I'm not gonna do these things. Right? There's certain times when I need to go into hibernation. There's other times when I'm super productive and I can shoot out a bunch of stuff. And so I understood that I needed a business coach that could understand that. Same was true on the spiritual side, right? So I understood that on the spirit for a spiritual support team, that I needed a spiritual support team that understood how entrepreneurs think, that understood, even if they didn't necessarily understand the mechanics of business, that they understand that there's certain things that I need support as because of the fact that I'm an entrepreneur and not someone that works a 9 to 5, because the needs are different, right? And so that for me was the important thing. So I tell anybody, when you're looking for someone that's going to be on your coaching team, right? Like regardless of what that looks like, you got to be clear on how you operate. Again, it all goes back to self-awareness, right? Because I also understood that for the level I was trying to go to, that yes, I had these two awesome, coaches that were helping me, but also understanding the parameters of those containers was not going to give me the individualized energy support that I needed.
Yes.
Right. And so it was like, okay, well, there's another piece that I need. Right. Like, so let
Yeah.
me, let me come find that piece. And so I was very self-aware of that. So many times we try to make people be what we need them to be when that ain't never what that container said it was supposed to do.
Yeah,
And so then you come out of it feeling like I didn't get what I wanted to get out of it, where you was looking for something that it won't never meant to be.
yeah.
Instead of going to get the additional support for the very thing that you needed, right? Like, and being intentional about that piece of it.
Yeah, that's totally understandable. Like I know I need these things. I'm gonna trick myself into thinking that this one particular place is gonna give it to me. And
Mm-hmm.
then when it don't, it's a form of satisfaction because you like, I knew that shit was gonna work. You
Mm-hmm.
know what I'm saying? Because you
Right.
didn't
It's
want
just
to work
it's a way
anyway.
of self-sabotage, right?
It is.
It's a part of self-sabotage that people don't want to talk about. You set your own self up for failure when you don't go after the pieces that you know you need, right? And like I said, the investments have been scary. But I just been like, listen, we just gonna figure it out. What's happening, right? Like, make it do what it do, and and doing that. So, because when you take the first step, then the staircase reveals itself, right? And that also goes into your own trust. Like, people be out here saying they spiritual, they love God, they love the divine, the universe supports them, but then when it's time for you to take that step where you can't see the other side, all of a sudden, where's God, where's the universe, where's the support? You acting like you don't know that that's how it works.
I mean, that can be a whole nother conversation. Uh, but pertaining to the way that I work with my clients,
Mhm.
um, that individual time and considering yourself and only yourself,
Mhm.
even the way that you process the information you're receiving,
Mhm.
even if it's a real conversation. I'm always asking questions with my clients of like, what are your real intentions with what you're doing?
Right.
One of my other clients, she knows. I'm like, you can't go to other people. Like you've reached your cap in people that you can confide in about this.
Right.
That and a part of actually adjusting to a program or something that's specifically for you is cultivating your belief system, because sometimes we separate God and we separate ourselves as if God is not with us, in us. You know what the scriptures saying, with us, and I made of him and I made in his image. Like
Right.
you can't have all these layers of reflection of a God and then turn around and look at yourself and deny yourself the process and the magnitude in which you can manifest and create your own abundance in your life and your future and delete the past. You see what I'm
Mhm.
saying?
Right.
And even it taking God like qualities, like shit went right. I apologize. I probably shouldn't have said that word. But when things was right, God was like, "Oh, I'm gonna flood. I'm gonna go ahead and start over." Like you're not above starting over. Matter of
Right.
I'm gonna open up the earth and swallow them people, and we just gonna make some more.
Mhm.
There's so many examples of starting over and
Mhm.
trusting the process and having faith. And as we all know, faith without works is dead. So yes, you can have all these works, but I want to let people know that I am supporting my clients in building their faith.
Mhm.
Sometimes faith is simply building your intuition and trusting yourself. And Famira, we worked a lot on our third eye and trusting, because when I
Mhm.
come across powerhouses like Famira who are super brilliant, super smart, and literally the only tweak is, okay, we're going to be consistent at working on your third eye, because you got to know. And you have to know for yourself, not for no one else, not for your programs, not for the people that you're helping, but you need to know that you got it for you. And you've been holding yourself down this whole time and making leaps and bounds and taking over and doing whatever the hell you want to do gracefully, beautifully, and with integrity. So, with that, I want to say thank you so, so much for joining me today in this live case study of our time together. I can't wait to have another one in the future of our time together. You being rich, probably, on a beach somewhere.
Listen, yes. You know me, sipping some tequila.
Trying to tell you, because you always auntie vibes. As soon as I find me a babysitter, we on that jet.
Yes.
Excellent. Um, So I want to say thank you so much. Thank you guys for watching and for being a part of the conversation. I hope that there was some aha moments that resonate with you or that you can take forward. As far as me, my Reiki is sold out, and I am now launching.
Is it now? Tell us about.
It, it, I mean,
In less than a week. Oh,
in less than a week on Monday, I did my first case study, live case. I said I was opening up 10 slots for Reiki, and it transitioned into two offers, a five-figure intimate offer and also my Reiki, and both have sold out. And now I'm offering my 8-week program that I talked about just now that Famira went through about the embodiment of your chakras. You know, it's not to take anything away from anybody, but you've learned so much, you've embodied so much, but you need to have it integrated. So this is a spiritual integration of getting to know yourself and then also fine tuning who you want to be going forward, which I absolutely love. We start January 23rd, so payment plans can start immediately. I will have the application in the comments. You see what I did there?
yes, I love it.
I got the
But
link.
you see, I'm just over here quiet and smiling. I'm
I
so
got the link. Got the link for. If you want to apply to be a part of my 8-week program, it will be in there, and I'm anticipating that to be sold out this month too. I'm claiming it. My
period.
with me, and we're gonna close out the year on a big note. If people want to get in touch with Famira, can you please let them know how to get their soul in alignment?
Yes.
Everything.
I can be reached on social media at I am Famira. I mainly hang out on Facebook and Instagram, so you can definitely check me out on both of those spots. My website is www.famiragreen.com. It's under construction, so don't mind that, but you can still check me out there. But also the applications for Express Your Brilliance are opening soon for the winter cohort that will be starting in January, and that's a 6-month program, and I'm excited about it. You come in one way and you go out another, and the way in which your voice and visibility becomes unstoppable. So I'm excited about that, and also just stay connected, because I have some things. November is, everybody talk about Black Friday, but what people don't talk about is November is my birthday month.
Period. Come on, Sag energy.
So there's
But another quick way to see me and Famira quicker is tell us about the conference next week that starts on Monday. Registered because they got me in there talk about.
Yes. So I teamed up with the amazing Alexis Logan of Soul Freak, and we have put together a summit. It's called the Soul Fire Summit. Soul Fire Summit. And it is essentially a conversation about how we bridge this spiritual, soulful side of ourselves with our high performing, producing side of ourselves to create the success of our dreams, specifically as women, more importantly, as women of color and as Black women, and what that looks like and the different things we have to overcome. And it's literally the conversation with your sisters, your cousins, and your aunties that you didn't know you needed. And so definitely head over to www.soulfiresummit.com. Chiquita is one of the amazing speakers, and the conversation we had was dope. If you thought this conversation was good, it ain't got nothing on that conversation over there.
We did.
Uh, we had a great conversation.
We was like, wait a minute now.
Aside from me and Alexis, there's 15 amazing women speakers, all women of color, all Black women, on the summit. And so I'm really excited about it. It gets started on Monday. It is free, so you can get signed up to join us and get in on some of these juicy conversations that we're having.
Get in on it. And just, a little shameless plug. I'm going to say that more than half of the women out of 17 in that summit are clients of mine. So,
You're right.
people.
So get on it.
so on fire. It is collective energy healing. It's a network of sisterhood that, like, you didn't even know you needed. We
Mm-hmm.
circulate the dollar. We support each other. We pour into each other like nobody's business.
Yes.
Meaning, like, just listening in on those conversations, I know it's just going to be a game changer. So you definitely want to be a part of that. With that being said, I will be back on Monday with another case study with the multiple six-figure earner Shakisha.
Yay, my other sister.
Right, it's everybody just out here winning, and I'm just
Love it.
appreciative to be in the number. You understand me? So,
Listen, listen, because the thing about it is at the end of the day, yes, we are doing the work. And yes, we take our own kudos for, moving forward. But also the truth is without the support, it wouldn't be as with the level of ease and grace that it has been. And it wouldn't, for me, I'll speak for myself, it wouldn't be as sweet without being on this journey with sisters like you that are supporting me and pouring into me and helping me where I can lay down my own brilliance and step into yours to be
mhm.
nourished and fed.
Oh man, it's priceless.
Mm-hmm.
It's priceless. The level of support, like nobody half-ass support. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like everybody all in. Like,
All in.
oh wait, like the prayer line. Like what you did? What you got? You said okay. Did you? And don't forget to tell another one. They go like, did you? Could you go? Okay, we go get her.
What you supposed to be asking me? What you supposed to be telling me? What you?
Oh
Yeah,
man,
yeah.
right. I got
We
ambushed on
snitches.
Monday. First of all, this interview happened because I'm preparing to build up my courage to step out on faith. Famira asked me to interview for the conference. And initially, I didn't have the capacity. I was doing my grand opening. I was like, no, let me stay focused. Then it came back around. I ignored the email. I'm not gonna lie. I can't even, I just can't. This came back again. And I was like, I really want to support. Let me show up. I'm gonna commit. I'm gonna show up. Went to support and show up, and I'm prepared. What I wasn't prepared for was her and Janelle and my newfound friend Alexis. Like, what you was supposed to be asking?
So for those that are watching, so essentially the interviews for the summit are pre-recorded. So what ended up happening was Janelle and Shakita booked the same day, right? With unbeknownst to them to each other. And so Janelle was first and then we had Chiquita. And so we were wrapping up Janelle's and Janelle started having a conversation with me about how she was about to be going live later that day with Chiquita, because this was just on Monday. And she was like, yeah, because I told her she needs to do these case studies. And I said, oh, well, I'm going to do a case study. She said, girl, she's supposed to have already asked you. And I was like, she ain't asked me nothing, right? So what happened was, so Chiquita shows up for her to do her interview. And so Alexis is like, well, Chiquita's here. Would you like me to let her
Why?
in?
Wait, why does this sound like an episode of Maury? Wait, let, let's bring Shakita out right now.
Right.
What does Shakita have to say about this? I'm the lady running in the back. Oh my god!
So she brings her on. So Chiquita's on, like, okay. And then she looks up and Janelle's there and it's like, okay, wait a minute. What's happening?
No, this don't feel right. I don't know what y'all doing.
So she kind of got ambushed with the smackdown. But hey, it resulted in this amazing time that we've had here together today.
It did so beautiful, and I am so grateful and hyped. But we're gonna let you guys go. I hope that you guys have an amazing weekend. Um, I might feel a little razzle dazzle and do a color reading later, so stay tuned for that. Other than that, have a great one, and thank you again for Mira. And I'll talk to you guys soon.
No problem. See y'all later. Bye.